Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and, with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Welcome, everybody, to Nightlight. This is a new and different show for us because we're not talking about a book. We're talking about a video. I have with me Max Hawthorne, who is a well-known author, and he's published a plethora of amazing books. But tonight he's here with a video that asks the question, is this a ghost, demon, or extraterrestrial caught on film? He's just published it, and he filmed the experience up front and personal. And he poses the question in the title of the show, are ETs AKA extraterrestrials real? What about reptilians? Are they here among us? How about cloaked predators? Are they real? And if so, what are they? What are they? These were filmed, as he puts it, uncomfortably close range and personally. The entity seen in this shocking footage may answer all of those questions and at the same time pose a ton of more. It's a very unusual first-hand experience. The film is up online, and he will give you the link to which you can go to watch the video. I watched it myself. I saw a whole bunch of new stuff, too. But I found it extraordinary since it is firsthand and the person we're talking to experienced it. I thought it worthwhile to bring him on and let him share his amazing experience with you. So welcome to the show, Max.
Hi, Barb. It is great to talk to you again, and thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, totally. I owed you a show for sure. So, you know, podcasters do get into this kind of a thing. So, and I can't think of a better topic, way to sort of wake people up and say, hey, this stuff happens. And so I know you said you had something you wanted to sort of preface our whole interview with, so you want to get that on out of the way, so to speak?
I guess we could. I mean, I want everybody to know up front, first off, that, I mean, getting this film and this footage and putting this documentary together has been and continues to be an amazing experience. It's like something where you're like, you want to believe something's real, but you're like, I don't know, this type of stuff. Or like you have your doubts, or, you know, everybody has different feelings on the subjects of things like extraterrestrials, et cetera. But to actually experience it, live it, and be able to document it and to put it together in a format that the people can see and to be able to share that knowledge, et cetera, has been an amazing, overwhelming experience, and it's just getting started. So, yeah, the website, when people want to go on, if they want to subscribe or whatnot, it's just my name and a .com on the end. So it's literally like maxhawthorn.com, and that will take them right there. The site is a pay-per-view type of thing. So people have a choice. They can go on and do a 2-day thing, or they can subscribe monthly. There are going to be tons of documentaries coming out because I have gotten so much stuff. I mean, footage of so many things, it's mind-blowing. But, it seems like there's been a little bit of backlash in terms of, like, people, when it comes to an actual pay-per-view type of thing. It was literally brought to my attention that some people, mostly trolls, have been saying things like, how dare he charge to see his video? Why doesn't he post it publicly to share knowledge? And I felt like I need to address that. The first thing is I'm an author, best known for writing the Cronus Rising series of sci-fi thrillers that you mentioned. And when people buy one of my books, I mean, they pay for it. They pay as much as $10 for a Kindle version and nearly twice that for a full-size softcover. And that's how I make a living. I get paid just like every author does for every copy sold. So if I am producing video documentaries, as I am right now, instead of writing, then why should that be any different? I spend months writing and producing each of these documentaries, and honestly, my research is not without risk. I am literally, as we're going to talk about in a bit, in the lion's den at times. So, I mean, it's like, I just found those comments confusing. I mean, do people think that the producers and directors of the stuff you see on TV do it for free? Obviously, they don't. They get a salary. And as for the aspect of sharing knowledge, I mean, let's touch on that. There are hundreds of books out there about UFOs and extraterrestrials, hundreds. And they're all sharing knowledge, quote. But do they do it for free? No. You buy them on Amazon or where you ever get them. I have something unique in all the world. Real footage of real entities. And I'm done playing YouTube's game. I mean, they get paid, I don't know if you realize this, for every view of the video on top of every ad viewed during said videos. I'm not going to allow others to reap the rewards of my work while I get paid peanuts. I mean, that's just the way it is. People go to Starbucks, pay $5 for a cup of coffee. And last I checked, an average AMC movie ticket is like $13.69 or something like that. I'm privileged to be showing people a taste of the biggest mystery the human race has ever known. It's not fiction. It's not special effects. It's real. And if that's not worth $9.99 a month or $6.99 for a 2-day rental, then I don't know what to say. But we've all got to make a living, and I would appreciate people not belittling me for attempting to make mine. So.
Well, I think that's fair, and certainly your argument is absolutely valid. I've got books out there too, and
yeah, people do expect you to give your stuff away for free. I mean, yeah. Everybody's got to make a living.
Well, not only that, but let's be honest, folks. No one ever got rich on royalties unless they mass-produced everything. And there are a couple people out there that have, but not many. So I think your video is definitely well worth watching and paying for. And I was curious in that what prompted you to take a camera outside at 4 a.m. or whatever it was? What was it that made you think, I have to take a camera and film something, but I don't know what it is?
Oh no, that's not exactly how things went down. So this hunt, let's call it, has been going on for years, on and off. I mean, way back in 2016, when my little girl was only 7, I was coming home with her from aftercare, from grade school, and I talked about this on a few shows. We encountered a winged creature, a winged entity, whatever you want to call it, in a development we were driving through. It was like a windy night with some little snow flurries, late November or something, and dark, obviously. And we encountered this thing lying in the middle of the street. And it was hurt, apparently. I don't know if it had gotten attacked by an owl, if it had struck a power line or something like that, but it was lying in the middle of this quiet street. And I initially had thought it was a box or something like that. I was crawling towards it to slow, to straddle with my tires. Could have been a box of nails, something like that. Well, this box of nails proceeded to push itself upright as we drew close to it, and the box of nails had a face and eyes and, limbs, etc. And it ended up being a creature, I don't know, it was a foot or more tall, that sprang into the air and suddenly sprouted wings like a dragonfly. Translucent, oval-shaped, wide wings. And I'm talking a wingspan of 3.5 or 4 feet. And it was like suspended in front of us, looking right at us, and I was like frozen. My little girl was like, "It's a fairy, it's a fairy," type of thing, and it saw her. Yeah, that's what she thought, which was great because it brought me belief in Santa Claus for years after that. Because when the whole Santa Claus thing came up, I said, "Well, wait, fairies are real, right?" And she's like, "Oh, you're right." I said, "So fairies are real, then Santa's real," So that was awesome. But the point is that it was a life-altering experience because, you're like, what did I just see? What the heck was that? This type of thing. I walked into the house talking to myself, and my little girl was like telling, "Mommy, we saw a fairy, we saw a fairy." So ever since that had happened, I periodically in the woods and those areas and stuff would put out like trail cameras and stuff in the hopes of getting one of these creatures on video, so that like you didn't imagine the whole thing and that you're not getting soft in the head or something like that. But so in the residence where I know a lot of people, so the place where this was filmed was a private residence in a wooded area in Bucks County. And I had managed, I don't know if it was a few months before that or something, I'd have to check the dates, but I had managed to get a few frames of one of these flying creatures finally. And it was, when it passed through the camera, it was probably, I'm going to say 50, 60 feet away, something like that on a guess. But it was traveling so quickly that by the time it had triggered the camera's motion sensing system, you only got like 3 frames of it blowing past the far right side of the screen or something like that, So I was hoping that to get better footage, and the problem is the timing of the camera, something moving so fast, that type of thing. So the family there had a cat, and I was there. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and the camera was already outside, affixed to the deck post, one of the deck posts on their deck. So when this cat was like clawing at the windows and stuff like that, I was like, "Ooh, maybe one of these things is out there." Now, it could have just been a deer or something like that, But I went out onto the deck. It was cold and dark and creepy, and I'm standing there, and then I got like this, like a dual feeling, like the temperature dropped all of a sudden, and like I tell people, it's like if you take your arm, like the back of your arm, and you rub it against a balloon and you pull it away and you get that feeling of like static or something like that. Static, which is where your hair will stand on end. Or like if there's a storm front coming at you, like a thunderstorm, and you could feel like the pressure buildup. Like they call it a low pressure front or high pressure front, whatever it is. Okay. Yeah. But that electricity in the air. And that was happening. So I figured, okay, one of these things is probably going to break through the tree line or something like that. So I went, and I do what I call flashing the camera. Where I lean, I'm right behind it, and I flash my hand in front of it real fast to trigger the motion sensor so it starts recording. And then I looked, and I waited, and it was, like I said, it was cold. And that weird tingly feeling, and my hairs in the back of my neck were standing up and stuff. And after a while, I felt like, what, maybe this isn't such a great idea, and I just left the camera and I went back inside. See, so I didn't really think anything of it until the morning when I brought the camera in and stuff, and I had like earlier clips of some deer and I think a possum or something like that, etc. And then there was the footage that ended up being this gold mine of knowledge and this eye-opening experience.
Well, I've obviously seen the video, and when I looked at it as you were playing it and talking, I could see things in the fog that I'm not. Let me put it this way: I'm not special, but because of what I do, my eyes perceive things where other people don't see them, only because they're trained to do that. And I could see pictures, faces, whatever, in the fog. And then as you began to alter it with making it clearer and clearer and clearer, then of course, the face came out. And
yes.
So it begs the question: have you been stalked by these creatures? Do you think, or were you just lucky?
There's some stuff I will talk about on the show, and some stuff I won't. Before I answer that question, should I give people an idea as to like how I initially saw the creature inside of this? What you're calling fog?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened is when I first saw the footage inside, I was looking at it on the monitor, and I'm kind of old, and I use a large monitor when I write my books, so, a little Gabby Hayes style or something like that, so, it helps. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I was out there, so there wasn't any fog. There wasn't any mist. There wasn't any snow. It wasn't raining, and it wasn't windy. It was crisp and cold and dark.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was thinking, okay, that's not humidity on the lens because it's moving. You could see something churning or something like that. And then I thought, well, maybe it was an insect, like a bug with transparent wings, like a fly or a dragonfly or something like that, had landed on the camera and was like blocking the lens, and maybe that's what I was seeing. But that didn't make sense because it was February, and the only insects that I know of that are around in that time are called winter moths, and their wings are not transparent or translucent or anything else. So I started looking at it, and the more I looked at it, I realized I was looking at sort of like what you were saying, like an energized kind of fog. It was a swirling mass of it moves like if you're facing it, it kind of moves from left to right and on an angle, and it swirls like you're in a cyclone almost or something like that. And I noticed it was brighter in the center than it was towards the outer edges, although it pretty much filled the whole screen. When people go on and they see the video, you're going to see all this because the original footage is there, and then you're going to see everything step by step, the whole breakdown process that reveals I don't say the term monster because that's very insulting, the entity that's concealed within that energized fog, we'll call it. The energized fog is actually a cloaking mechanism, some sort of cloak that conceals this being, and or possibly a portal as well, which, since Barb noticed some of the stuff that I wasn't normally going to bring up on one of these things, but yeah, we're going to talk about it. So what happened is I looked at this and I'm like, this just doesn't seem right. There's something, I couldn't explain it. It looked like liquid plasma churning around, for want of a better. I mean, you've seen the video, so you know what I'm talking about, which is cool. So then what I did was I started trying to.
I would have called it etheric energy. You're coming from a very scientific point of view. I'm coming from a spiritual one, so we're describing the same thing. But I would have called it an energetic, etheric power source. And the element of saying portal is very appropriate for an experience like that. So I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, not at all. I mean, this is what we're here to talk about because this is an incredible mystery, and I am only beginning to scratch the surface of what goes on with it. But it was really cool because one of the people I showed this footage to, actually the documentary, is an Ivy League professor who, this person deals with infrared lasers on a daily basis. And I wanted somebody who, was an expert in infrared technology. And this person is also the world's biggest skeptic, which was also a nice test of fire, Yeah. I showed him the whole thing, including the parts where you can see the scales on the entity's throat, in 3 different shots. And he was like, well, maybe that's the railing. I said, no, the railing's over there, see? And he's like, yeah, you're right. And after a while, he was having a hard time denying it. And he finally got to the point where he was like, well, I don't know what to say, because his desire to dismiss it was like crushed. And then he was like, I told him how I had initially confronted one of these beings years earlier, not knowing it was there, almost challenged it to a duel, so to speak. We can talk about that later. And he was laughing like, what, are you insane? He was like, I mean, these things have advanced technology, advanced weaponry, defenses, like I said, but I didn't see it, so I didn't know what it was, and this is true. But he eventually said, so then the question is, why do you keep running into these things? Are they everywhere, or is there something about you that they find interesting? To which I was like, well, I did get that new cologne, so, whatever. I don't know, haha. It's very special. But so anyway, so back to the breakdown. So, and everybody, when you see the video, do what Barb was saying. Watch it. You can slow it down, slow the speed, study the energy field, especially as the conscious increases, because you are going to see things hidden in there that are going to have you scratching your head, and I don't know what else. Some people
absolutely. One thing that people, I know they know this, but I'm going to say it just so that they can, remember it. When you're looking at a video like this, it's very possible for you to stop it, back up a frame, look again, and that's what I did. That's how I saw the other things in there that were in there. I was trying to go along with what you were saying, and then I was seeing other things. So that when you do view this documentary, understand that you are fully capable of slowing it down and stopping it so that you can really look for other things in the fog, so to speak. And the more you pause it and look at it, the more things you actually see.
Yes, and some of them are rather scary looking, but let's just keep in mind that we don't know what they are or what their intentions are or a lot of other things. So, let's not get alarmed, let's say. So what happened next is, after I was like, okay, there's something weird about this energized fog, is I decided to start increasing the contrast on it to try and see if I could see anything, And when you increase contrast, you make lights lighter and you make darks darker. That's how it is. So if you had, like, for example, a light bulb, let's say, on a, dark porch or something like that, and you started increasing the contrast, the darkness around it would get darker and darker until eventually the light would be like a solid object almost. You know what I mean? Like the brightest part of the light and things like that. So when I did that at 50% contrast, the field started to shrink, and it started to become a hint as if it was almost humanoid in shape. And then I increased it to 80% contrast, and then it became undeniable that the field was really humanoid. It almost looks like, because it was very close to me. This creature, this entity, was probably about 6 feet from where I was standing. Which, if you're thinking about it, since it's 7 feet tall, is a very uncomfortable position to find oneself in, but fortunately, ignorance is bliss. Yeah, I think it was about as tall as me with me on the deck, to be fair. Okay, and the deck is a few feet up. But at any rate, by just thinking about it gives you chills. So at 80%, it was undeniable. It was almost like a portrait, and you see like the shoulders, the neck, the head, that type of thing. Like I said, it was close. And then I started going through it frame by frame, or toggling a few frames at a time. And around the center point is when the face jumped out at me. And this was, luckily, as it turns out, probably the best view of the entity during this part of the footage, where you could see an actual face. And I call it the grimace shot, because the entity is, its expression, it looks like, at first I thought it was in pain. I thought like it was a ghost. And I was like, oh my God, I got a ghost on video. I told a guy I went to high school with, and he told me I was a wacko. Okay, and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, like, I'm telling you, dude, I got a ghost live on video, infrared. And he's like, yeah, you're smoking stuff again. I thought you quit that in high school, whatever, this type of stuff. But kidding, I never smoked anything. But so but then I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, this thing has like a heavy brow ridge, a conical shaped head, massive cheekbones, heavy jaws, sharp teeth. I'm like, this is not a human. At least if this is a ghost, it ain't a human being's ghost. So what the heck am I looking at here? And this is how I got into this whole thing. And then I ended up going through the video, through the footage, and I found key points in there where this entity's cloak was penetrated enough by the infrared film, or there were weak points in the cloak, maybe brief moments where it was more visible, and the camera was able to detect it. And I was able to enhance those frames. There's like, 5 or 6 or 7, segments, let's say, collections of frames here and there and stuff, where you can get to see the creature itself. And it was an incredible experience. And so, but I call it the grimace shot because it turns out that the being did not know at first that I was filming it. And, it started off looking to the right. You'll see it's turned to its right, be our left. And then it turned toward me, and I think it was looking right at the camera, and its eyes like pop, like like this type of thing, like one of those blank moments. I'm not going to say it on the air here. I'm sure we're not allowed to use colorful language, right?
I'd be careful.
Yeah. Okay. So an beep moment. Okay, and then the grimace shot is when it sort of leans its head back, almost when somebody does when they want to like rub their fingertips between their eyes, and it's like, like this. It has that look, like it's very upset and angry or annoyed, and it's almost like this, I am going to get fired for this, I know it, kind of moments. I swear to God, it's really like that type of thing. Keep in mind, this is a super advanced being whose, technology is probably tens of millions of years old. You know what I mean? And like any society, it must have employers, bosses, people it answers to. You know what I mean? A chain of command. I am sure that it was like really like it was like, oh, I can't believe this, that type of thing. And and then like it like starts to back away. It's looking right at me pretty much at this point, and it rears up a little bit, and then it starts to withdraw, and then you see the cloak and everything sort of like folds up, like whisks away or whatever, or like disappears. And I don't know if it closed a portal and walked, like just bamfed out, or if it's when it backs up to a certain distance and the camera can no longer pick it up. Like it may be that its technology is so advanced that it has to be like right on top of you before you can see it. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another mystery, a question that needs to be asked and answered type thing. But I can tell you this. Granted it was dark. There was a little bit of like some night lights on the deck and stuff like that. But this thing was right there, and I saw nothing. Not a waver, not a heat.
I have a question.
Sure.
Were there motion detector lights on the deck?
No. There is, I think, one. I'm sorry.
Were there footprints? Were there footprints in the soil the next day?
The area where it would have been standing is stone, and there was. Keep in mind, this is February. There was no snow, and the soil would be like hard. You're not going to leave tracks in there. And it's funny that you asked that, because I was back there multiple times doing checks, because in the second documentary that'll be coming out next, I did radiation checks for where it was standing. I had a Geiger counter. At one point, I think it was in May or June, it looked like footprints had suddenly appeared there, which would be very weird, okay? And I took pictures of them and everything like that. They were these large, sort of like three-toed looking tracks, like a pair of them, and some long thing beside them. I'm like, could those be 2 footprints and a tail, mark or something like that? But then I was like, that doesn't make sense, because I was here in March, and again in April or May when the grass was growing in, and the grass grew in. So why would the grass all be dead all of a sudden in that spot? You know, like that. I mean, granted, it was exactly where it was standing. Okay, but and then I found out that the landscapers that handled this house, they had spilled some gasoline back there in that exact spot. So I think the gasoline killed the plants in a pattern that looked like a pair of feet or something. Unless there's something about gasoline and residue it left behind that combined did that. I don't know, but I just documented it. Yeah.
It sort of sounds like you've got a portal right there off the deck.
Well, I'll tell you this much: it moves. It can go wherever it wants because it have portal will travel type thing. You know, that could be a great movie. Have portal will travel. You know, but and so you were asking though about if I thought they were stalking me or something.
Yeah. Was
that the question? Like, do I think they're stalking me?
Yeah, I did ask that.
Well, the entity, and it's not the same one. Like I was back there, like in the I think it was like a month or a month and a half later or something like that, and one of them showed up a second time, and it's not the same one. I know for a fact now that it's not the same one, and this one's bigger, as if 7 feet wasn't big enough. Okay, but its facial structure is different, its cheekbones are different and stuff. But and since I was there again, you know, it was making me wonder because it had a different type of cloak, which I take it I don't know if it was trying to play with me in terms of like make me think that, you know, like, oh, look, you imagined it was really snow, so just give up your investigation. You know, or something like that, or if it was trying to intimidate me, or if it was trying to be funny, because it's only visible, really visible, just for a few key frames in the middle of that segment, and it literally mugs for the camera. It smirks right at the camera, and it's a very scary smirk. You know, like if you were standing there with this creature looking down at you, and it's 8 feet tall, it'd be looking down at you, and it was wearing a smirk like that, you'd probably be thinking like, what is he thinking? You know, like that type of stuff. But so, and since he knew I was there, I imagine he was doing it deliberately. You know, but I don't think they're stalking me. I think they're watching me. And I don't know if it's curiosity or there's something about me that they find interesting, intriguing, if they're assigned to watch me possibly or something. You know, I don't know. I mean, I do write books about giant prehistoric reptiles. You know, the Cronus Rising series is about giant prehistoric marine reptiles surviving to the present, et cetera. And I do believe that these entities are descended from dinosaurs, so that might be of interest to them. You know, I mean, if they came by my house and peeked in my window in my office, they're going to see a painting of a pliosaur with a girl hugging it. You know, that was the advertisement for the Cronus Rising book one. You know, have you hugged your pliosaur today? You know, like kind of a juxtaposition type thing, or what would you call it, incongruity? Because, you know, you have this giant monster that could eat a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then you have a girl in a bikini hugging it, you know, like, and it's harmless, you know, that type of thing. But anyway, I'm all over the map now, so my brain is fried. But anyway, but I don't think they're stalking me because, you know, they've had many opportunities. If they wanted to get me out of the way, they could have done it in the woods multiple times, other places, in a basement of a building, et cetera. You know, if they wanted me dead, I would be dead. See, but I do believe they went on a campaign for several weeks or even a month or two where they were trying to scare me off. I think they were trying to dissuade me, scare me into not continuing my investigation because I was working on this video nonstop once I realized what I was dealing with. You know, every day I'd be on the computer and stuff. I started putting a script together about it and all this stuff. So it was obvious. I mean, and let's be realistic. I mean, entities that travel through portals, you know, or can be invisible, cloak technology, or both, they can be anywhere. You're not going to know they're there. They can be watching you. They could be watching me right now. You know,
True.
so I'm sure they knew what. Yeah, I'm sure they knew what I was doing, and I don't think they were happy about it. like I said, maybe somebody got written up or, suspended from their job or who knows what, Maybe that's why maybe Barb, maybe that's why the different one came the second time because the other guy was suspended.
Maybe he got fired.
No, I don't think he got fired because he's been back. But
But have they communicated with you telepathically?
I've had some verbal stuff from them, and they do have the ability to do what, like, you know who Whitley Strieber is, right? The author?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and he has been abducted by Greys, I think multiple times. And they did terrible things to him. I read his book, Communion and stuff. But he said that when they spoke to him, for the most part, they would speak to him without their mouths moving. And he said that it was like you would hear them, but they had bypassed your auditory, your ear canals. So as if it was directly being transmitted in your brain. And that happens. And it is the weirdest thing, especially the first one or two times that it happens. But I mean, before they started doing that, when they were trying to scare me, I got roared at when I was lying in bed. I was literally like lying in bed, and I was like half, like almost asleep, just starting to drift off, and this thing roared right in my left ear, and it sounded like a lion, like at point blank range or something like that. Very deep, very loud, this type of thing. Obviously startling, but I get so little sleep that I don't respond well to having my sleep interrupted. Okay? So this thing roared in my ear, and instead of jumping or getting scared, I turned sideways to it, and I said something very nasty and something that would not be allowed on this show. Okay?
Probably.
Which in blank off blank, and I might have mentioned his mother. I'm not sure. Okay, etc. But the point is, I just lashed out like verbally. I was like, like this stuff. And I think my impression was he must have been like, dang, he ain't afraid of no ghosts, like this type of stuff. Because most people would not react like that. But that was how I am. Okay, and but after that, it turned into periodic. I guess, like you said, like telepathy type stuff. Short sentences. I was scolded once when I was talking to somebody and saying stuff that I don't think they wanted me discussing and things of that nature, and some stuff like I'm not really ready to talk about right now. But, it's kind of gruff, the communication and stuff, but yeah, they are amazing beings. So.
Well, it just, it seems that there has to be a purpose. Do you have any idea what that is?
I do, but I'm not ready to talk about it now. See, the thing is that there's a lot of people out there, okay, that have stories of things that happen to them and, like anecdotes and things of that nature. But actual evidence is few and far between. And I don't want to talk about something unless I can back it up, and I have so much stuff to present, over the next months and years, et cetera, that are going to, is going to take people along on a ride that they're never going to forget. And I want to focus more on that stuff. And, when I get into things like that, first of all, I don't want to brag and make like I'm super special or something like that. Like I'm the chosen one or something. It's not it's just not my thing. Okay, I don't want to come off like that. There are things about me that apparently they're drawn to, and we'll just leave it at that. But I mean,
well, so
they wouldn't.
Have they ever turned up with the benefit of your camera looking at a haze? I mean, have you ever seen one physically present in your presence?
physically present in my present. You mean sans technology? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Let's see. I have oodles of infrared footage of assorted ones, first off, and a lot of other entities that are going to blow people's minds. So, like I'm telling you guys now, subscribe to the channel because or make sure you're in the newsletter at least, because you're going to want these updates and as this stuff comes out. But let's see. I have infrared footage, oodles of it. I have thermal images. I have a thermal camera. I have oodles of them. Assorted species, things I never knew existed, things I wish I didn't know existed. Okay, some of the stuff is, I'm sure in their world or their reality, they're normal and all that. And I'm not saying they're hideous, but to most people, they would be terrifying to look at. Some of these beings. And I think Strieber said that recently, some entities could be so, their appearance could be so intimidating or something like that people would think they were a monster or a demon or something like that. But let's see. So I have a track of one from the woods. I think they were hunting deer. And one time, after they kind of got used to me, and I think they accepted what I was doing, and I think they realized that I think they approved of my work. Like, in other words, that, the document I put together, it's not, it's very methodical, it's analytical, it's open for discussion, and it's not, assuming the worst about somebody. Let's put it that way. So I think they were content with that, and I think they want their presence to come out bit by bit, and so that's what I'm doing. But at one point, they have played practical jokes on me, bastards. There's one I wish I could talk about right now, but I can't. It was like so. I was like, you want to get somebody, get back at somebody, but you can't, type of thing. But and they have a wry sense of humor. They are emotional creatures, and when everybody sees the video, you'll see when you see his expression change and that grimace shot, you're going to realize this is a frustrated, upset individual, upset that he got caught, on a video camera. I used to call him Handsome. That was my nickname for him, but because in the second video, I have more footage where you can see him really clear, scales and everything, and teeth, but even better than this one. And that's why I said, oh, he is handsome, so that was my nickname for him for a long time. But anyway, so at one point, and this actually happened at my house, okay, and we, have an unspoken thing where they don't, invade my privacy here, let's say, and stuff. I don't mind an occasional verbal message or whatever and stuff like that, but, I have a child, whatever and stuff. So, but at one point, I think they wanted to see how I would react to seeing one of them in the flesh. And I was sitting at the kitchen table. My wife was sitting across from me, and we have a deck also, and there were sliding glass doors that lead to our deck. So it was nighttime. There was we have motion lights on our deck, and that light was on, and they stay on to certain hours, and then they switch, I think, to motion sense, like real late, or something. But anyway, and we're sitting there talking, whatever, and I look, and behind her, this being started to materialize behind her, like not in the house, on the deck. And I believe that it was in a full crouch initially, like down, like on like taking a knee type thing. Like I think it was doing that to appear as non-intimidating as possible, let's say, because let's be realistic. When you're 8 feet tall and very muscular and covered with scales and have big sharp teeth, a mammal my size might find you a little scary, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Picture an 8 foot tall crocodile looking down at you. You'd probably be like a little like, oh, type of stuff. So my point is, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, this shape started to coalesce right in front of my eyes, and it was white. okay, which tells me that I think like they're coated or their skin or I don't know what, with the whole cloaking thing, etc., or maybe it starts off white before it fully coalesces, but it looked like an oval, like curved in the center. And what I realized it is he was leaned forward, and it was like you were looking, if you look at a person's body, like let's say you had a fit person, a muscular person, like a man with muscles, and if you look at them from straight overhead, literally looking straight down at them, if you looked at their torso, you would see their shoulder blades would stick out with all the muscles of the upper back, and then it would curve in where the spine is, and then it would curve out again. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what it was like seeing, except that curve was towards me because he was hunched forward and crouched down. And it started to materialize, and I saw this. And let me tell you, without the deltoid muscles, just that portion was between 30 and 36 inches wide. Now, picture that. I think the average man's clavicular width is like 17 inches or something like that. And this was between 30 and 36. And I know because I went in, I took a picture like later the next day with a yardstick and put it on the chair there and tried to estimate the distance, how far away it was. Anyway, the point is, as this was happening, I was like, my eyes went like pop like his did when he was on the video, I think the first time. And my head started snapping left and right, back, because I was looking like, what's causing this, like this type of thing, and all that. And I looked and I focused through the glass and I realized it was not a reflection, it wasn't anything else. It was literally becoming three-dimensional in front of my eyes. And I think this was a test where he was like, okay, so I'm going to materialize and let's see if he's going to freak out. And then I think they were like, yeah, he's going to freak out. And then they just went whoop and disappeared. I think it really was like, he's going to freak the heck out and this is going to get like bad or something like that, because I was like, I didn't, it's not like you expect it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're at your house sitting there having dinner and then all of a sudden this type of thing. And I literally saw it disappear. And when it disappeared, it was like when it was materializing, it came slowly. When it disappeared, it was a sped up version of that. It was like a whoosh, and it was gone. And I was like sitting there, and my heart was going boom, 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 boom. And I was like, I don't believe it, but yeah, they're real, and they can be completely physical, etc. So
is this the only? This is, one would think, a reptilian. From your description, Is this the only species that you have photographs of?
No, not by a long shot. First off, the two that have been, came to that residence where they were filmed are both reptilians, but they look different. Handsome has a slightly more protruding muzzle. The other one I call Smiley because the one who smirked at the camera. His face is more human, for want of a better term, even though he's obviously a reptilian. I mean, you can see like the tubercles, like the scales, round scales under like the eyelid and stuff like that, and very heavy brow ridge and stuff. But no, I have a lot. I have images of several other types of reptilians. And by the way, the one that's in the video, and I will apologize to everybody when you see the video. I mean, initially I started it off asking what it was, and throughout the video I do ask what it is, trying to figure it out, narrow down the possibilities, etc. Sasquatch, a demon, etc. But I did add a preface to this, like a quick insert at the beginning of the video, because after the video was completed, I got better images of him. And I realized he was 100% a reptilian. And I don't want to, lead people on or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you knew this, why did you put this out? The video was already completed and everything like that. But this needs to be included because it needs to be said. Okay?
Well,
but
you said a number of times that he didn't have his skin on. So
right.
How do you know? Have you seen him with his skin on?
Okay, so the first thing is that, and I tried to touch on this in the documentary, is that the cloak that hides him, that keeps him invisible from us, from most, keep in mind, we only see in certain spectrums. Okay, there's a whole other universe out there, as they say, okay? Just like if you think about sound. If you're sitting in a room and there's nothing on or anything like that, you don't hear anything, okay? But there are radio waves all around you. Television waves, cable, TV, all sorts of sounds. You're just not able to hear them. The same thing applies to vision, okay? So I believe that their cloak functions like an MRI or a CAT scan or an X-ray, okay? I mean, like when you look at an MRI, it slices, okay? A CAT scan sees through things. X-rays see through things. You know, I asked somebody who was quite experienced with this, if when you put your arm down to get it X-rayed, okay, you don't see the meat pretty much, right? You just see the bones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but if you increase the X-ray's power enough, you wouldn't even see the bones. You would just see a black screen. Obviously, that would be very hazardous to the person getting exposed to a dose like that. But the point is that their technology is able to do that. And so when you see through the video, you see different times, he appears almost skeletal in certain portions, almost like a skull. And it is a skull. It's his skull. Okay? There are other parts, frames where he has more meat on his bones. But the grimmest shot is the one where he's like 99% there and he's just missing like his epidermis, like the outer layer skin, which, by the way, in his defense, makes him look scarier. You know, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen one of those Hellraiser movies where the people's skin is off, you know?
No.
And they're terrifying looking. Oh, okay. Well, anybody who's seen Hellraiser knows what I'm talking about, okay? But the point is, if we were missing our skin, we would not look very attractive. You know what I mean?
No,
or if you've seen
true.
Two-Face in the Batman movies and stuff like that, you know, that type of stuff. So when in the grimace shot in the first documentary, you can see the tubercles on his brow, you know, the lumpy scales and stuff like that. You just can't see the finer texture of his actual outer skin. But yes, I have frames of him with all the skin on and all the scales and everything else. And he even has scars in his lower jaw, I guess from fighting or something like that. I don't know if they're claw marks or tooth marks or something like that. Okay? But he's definitely scarred. But, you know, I don't know how their society functions. Maybe it was a mating damage. You know, maybe they mate violently like sharks do, or maybe it was a barroom brawl, or I don't know. So yeah, like I said, you guys want to be following the site and subscribing because, you know, each of these comes out, you're going to be getting more and more and more. So yeah, but I have images of several other types of reptilians. These guys are saurians. Just to be clear on that. They are not Draken or Draconians, as people call them. Okay, those are different. So I'm just saying there's a difference between the two. I want to be clear on that. I do have some footage of an actual Draconian, but that's for coming down the road. So, but I have images of, I mean, all sorts of stuff. Mothman, I have. Fairies, I have. Dogman, I have. Okay, all sorts of stuff. So it's just going to be one after another. And grays. You know I love the grays. Okay, I've got some of them too.
Grays are not my favorite.
They ain't my favorite either, and you know why. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do you think any of them are here?
I believe that Earth is a great planet. It is not a unique planet, but it is a special place. I believe that these particular types of reptilians are descended from dinosaurs. And I'm going to make a strong case of that in the second documentary, by the way, because you'll see when you see the skin and what I compare it to, and some other anatomical features that are mind-blowing as well. But anyway, so I think they've been here since the dinosaurs. They may have left. Maybe they left before the asteroid struck and came back more recently. You know, I mean, there's myriad possibilities. I mean, it could be anything. alternate Earths, alternate realities, alternate timelines. I mean, it's a multiverse out there, right? So, but I believe that there are different extraterrestrials, and I think they've been here for millions of years, different kinds. Some people believe that this entire planet is a giant laboratory experiment. Maybe it is. I find it curious, if you think about it, if I look at Handsome and Smiley, and I look at their facial structures, they're more human than other reptilians. I have one. I don't know what it is, but it's got a face like a crocodile. Like a crocodile almost. Oh. But it still has an opposable thumb and fingers. Okay? So it begs the question, do these saurians have any human DNA in them? Hominid DNA, or do we have some of theirs? And if either is true, how did it get there? See? So it begs the bigger questions, the wonders of the universe.
Well, you go back to the Egyptians, and a lot of their gods had animal heads.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's right.
You wonder if it was meant to be representative or if it was literal.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I have a thermal image of an entity that has a head. This top portion of the head is quite large, and it looks remarkably similar to some of the pharaoh's headdresses, their crowns. And it begs the question, was that designed to imitate the appearance of an extraterrestrial species that had heads shaped like that? And perhaps they had an influence, the Syrians or something. And when I say Syrians, I mean from Sirius, not from Syria. Okay.
Yeah,
but
gotcha.
Yeah, I want to clarify that, So
with the chaos that's going on today, it makes sense that awareness of extraterrestrials, is going to be coming out more and more and more, because in times of chaos, that's when things like extraterrestrials will become known, and it won't be as horrific as in a time of, great prosperity. Then nobody wants anything to change. But I would think that it's perfect timing for them to make themselves known. Just sort of wondering, and again, this is something that there is no answer to. If they had divulged themselves to scientists or whatever, they would have been hustled away to a laboratory and never be seen again. So, better to
or have been
pick.
ready.
Yeah, and so better to pick normal people in the population who can get the word out there until, of course, they're taken away. So, you do. You become public enough so they can't take you away is basically what you do. I would think. That
sounds reasonable. I think, maybe I think it's important to be done in a way that doesn't add to the chaos. So maybe they want to come forward in a more subtle way, and they're making appearances and attempted appearances in many different places. You keep seeing stuff on the news, etc. So, that might make sense, or maybe they need certain people that are qualified or have the capacity to interact better or something to that effect, or more prone or more scientific minded or more, I don't know. I don't know what qualities, beings like that would look for in a person necessarily. But all I can tell you is this is, the entity in that field was 100% real. And, that's not CGI. That's not some hoax. That's not some photo that's been enhanced, et cetera. This is 30 seconds of actual footage. Original footage is on there. And every step of the way, I break it down for people, et cetera. So.
Well, quite often when people say they've seen an extraterrestrial, they say, and this is the message they gave me. Have you been given a message of any sort?
I'm going to hold off on that question for now. Because if I have a message, it's not as defined as I'd like it. But I have been scolded a few times. I can tell you that much. Yeah, I was like, I was with a friend of mine, and this shows you they can go wherever they want. I was on a cruise ship in the middle of the Caribbean, late at night, right, on the top deck, talking to a friend of mine, and it was pretty quiet. There weren't people around, and we were sitting there talking, and I was talking about, these beings and shape-shifting and all this other stuff like that. Okay, and he's from the UK, and I broached the topic joking about the royal family and stuff like that. I'm sure you've heard those stories, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, I got one of those messages where it was like, Max, cease this, like that kind of thing. Okay, and it was so startling because I was like looking left and right, and he was like, "Why did he just jump?" That type of thing, and all. So then my friend went to go get a coffee or something like that, and while he was gone, I responded. I was just like, I just talk quietly because I don't have their abilities, and I was like, because you could tell when they're like annoyed because you feel like a little bit of a pressure pain, in your head. Okay, and I was like, look, relax. I'm like, who's he going to tell? And besides, he thinks I'm insane, And right then, he walked up and heard me saying that, so he definitely thought I was insane. But anyway, so there you have it. But yeah, I don't have any big message right now. Let's put it that way. Okay? I'm just trying to figure out everything for myself and my purpose and my... I don't know. I guess like my path.
Well, yeah. I think that at this point I would be wondering if it were me, and I don't want it to be me. I'm not volunteering. I would want to know, what do you want of me? I mean, I've got the videos of you, yeah, but what do you want me to do? And it's funny. I've often said that television and movies were ways that the universe uses to get us used to new developments that are coming into our lives. And Star Trek is the best example of the doors opening and shutting and the tricorder. And when we saw them in Star Trek, when it started, it was magic. And now, of course, we in and out of the grocery store the same way Captain Kirk did. And we all have tricorder-like cell phones that we carry around with us that will scan us and do all sorts of things. So I'm wondering if this is sort of a test run of some sort of putting more information out there and seeing if, well, certainly you're going to be attacked. Of course you're going to be attacked. That's the point of it all. But the more you put out there, the more you're going to have people playing I Doubt It with you. But I understand that because I saw a UFO when I was in college.
Wait, I'm sorry, playing what with me? I didn't hear that. You said the more you're going to have people playing like something with me. I missed a couple of words there.
The more you're out there, you're more going to have people playing I Doubt It with you.
Oh, I doubt it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, when I saw the UFO in the 60s, I can't tell you you were drunk and how much beer did you have, and and the whole thing for years and years and years and years until a book came out in around 2010 called In Focus, and it really was just a group of the documented cases of actual UFO sightings, and mine was in there.
Wow, see that?
But it took 40 years, and in that time, I would repeat the story and people would say, yeah. But it was validating, after 40, 50 years that.
Oh,
that
you must have been. You must have felt vindicated.
Oh, I wanted to buy 400 copies of that book and give them to everyone that said I doubt it to me. I mean, I think it's out of print now, but it was, and it feels like this is the same type of thing you're going to be going through. People are going to, you'll get people that are detractors, and then you'll get people who think, yeah, this is kind of cool, and maybe that's the purpose of it.
Well, the detractors, listen, I mean, they're not living it. They haven't seen it. They haven't experienced it. They don't know what I have, and whether they're people that just want to shut stuff like that down, or people that are jealous because it hasn't happened to them, and if they're like that, it will never happen to them. I mean, let's just put that out there, okay? Yeah, I mean, advanced beings do not want to be around the hateful. I mean, if you're filled, your soul is filled with bile and rage and whatever. Who wants to be around that negative energy, etc.? By the way, I just saw on one of my Facebook groups, the fans of Cronus Rising on Facebook, a young lady who subscribed to the site, and she wrote, "You got one. That's what they look like." So I think she's seen one herself. See, so. But so I mean, she saw the face, and it jives with what she saw. So, and I mean, that's but it's, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm sure it'll people will try and keep it hush hush, and I'm not trying to make like a huge splash or anything like that. I mean, I'd almost rather just like let people that are interested and want to learn, and people that aren't, or whatever, go their separate ways, and that's fine. I mean, these beings, type of beings. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, the picture, it looks a little nasty, and yet, if you look at a gorilla who is enraged and fighting, it looks vicious and awful and terrifying, and then you give that same gorilla a kitten to cuddle, and it turns cuddly and sweet. So just because its exterior appears a little tougher than normal doesn't mean that the interior is that way too. And certainly if they and with my late husband, Patrick Cook, I think we wrote an article of some sort for his website, which was Matrix Radio. No, the BibleUFO.com was his website. One of the things that I wrote was, if they're here to take us over, they could have done it in the last million years or so. If they're here to destroy us, they could have done it in a heartbeat. If the fact that they're here and we're seeing them, there has to be a more positive explanation for it.
Well, I think that first off, there's 2 points that I would touch on that. The first is that, I mean, if there any advanced beings that wanted to take over this planet by military force could easily do so, and I'll prove it to you. Well, let's look at the last 100 years. Okay, during World War I, we used bolt-action rifles for the most part, horses, a lot. And the most advanced air weapons we had were biplanes that flew at, 100, 135 miles an hour with open cockpits and machine guns, Red Baron style. Okay? Now, I mean, we have supersonic fighters that do Mach 3, Mach 4. I mean, we have stealth technology, surface missiles. You name it, we've got it. We have spaceships now. Okay? One F-22 Raptor could go out and sink an World War II aircraft carrier and all the fighter planes on it with no problem. And they wouldn't have a prayer, and they wouldn't see it coming. So, I mean, it's not a matter of technology. They must have codes of conduct, that type of thing. Because if Handsome did not have a code of conduct, he could have dispatched me, there or another time, etc. Okay? And, many opportunities and stuff. I do feel like I think it was a day or two later that he might have come back and wanted to get rid of that camera, and it wasn't there because something struck the wall of that house. And then I was there like weeks later in their back, and this big hosiery on the wall had been damaged. Like something had struck it hard enough to break the copper piping apart from the attachment or something. And it was all stripped. Now that could have been a deer that for some reason decided to run up and jump and smash into the wall. But I find it an interesting time period that like a day or so later after this camera not being there, let's say the following night, that that happened. He might have come back there and wanted to get rid of the camera, and it wasn't there, and he was frustrated. I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought. There's no evidence to back that up. Just a damaged hose reel and hearing a loud boom, like a loud thump on a wall. But I wouldn't blame him, from his expression. Like you said, he looks scary, right? You could even see some of those sharp teeth on like the right side there in the mouth and stuff, And vertical pupils, people, you look close, you'll see they have vertical pupils. Okay, so
yeah, that it just seems to me to think that I'm wondering if they're looking for people who are more fascinated by them than afraid of them. And it's got to be difficult to find somebody who will. I mean, considering your background and all of your underwater stuff, you deal with with strange-looking creatures anyhow. So.
Oh, you should see my ex-girlfriend. Just kidding. Actually, I could have put a mother-in-law joke there, but I'm trying to cut down on those. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But it's like. You look beneath the surface, sort of, and so that makes sense to me. But at the same time, it just. How long ago did these pictures take place?
That first footage it'll be a year ago tomorrow.
Okay, so it's reasonably current.
Yes, and then Smiley showed up in March. Like 30 days later or something like that. I don't remember exactly. I'd have to check the date and stuff. But, and ever since then, it's just been more and more and more. But, I mean, it's like where I go, they go. Meaning, like, I brought a thermal camera with me, and when I was on that ship and I took some pictures and stuff, I had some stuff there. I mean, like I was like, what is that? Like that type of thing.
I sometimes have casually said, I think extraterrestrials may look at Earth as a vacation resort.
Mm-hmm.
And that
I have a feeling.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No. Ladies first.
Well, it just seemed to me that they come here to enjoy the chaos. I know there's Mary Joyce had a soldier who was in charge of a particular place in the Nevada desert where apparently extraterrestrials have a base, and they're more of the Nordics, and their women look into catalogs, get clothes, and they go into Las Vegas itself, and they blend right in with the crowds. So, I wonder sometimes if we aren't their amusement park.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure they find it intriguing. That's the guy that deals with the tall whites, right?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah, I saw like him talking about this or something on a video. I watched a good chunk of it, but I mean that would be different. I mean, if you're a 6 foot tall blonde, you could pass as a person. Although if the guys are 7 feet tall, that's kind of pushing it a little. You're going to stand out more.
Basketball.
Yeah, 7 or 8 feet. You're up there now. It's going to be a little weird, but yeah, that's workable. If you're an 8 foot reptilian built like a tank and all that, that's unless you're concealing your appearance, that's a hard sell. But I mean, I have seen some images that make me wonder, like am I like on some reality show, like intergalactic reality show that I don't know about, And if so, why am I not getting paid? You know what I mean? Like seriously, like who's in charge here and who do I got to talk to? Because I see some of these, beings sometimes like looking at me and it looks like they're like, kicking back and like eating popcorn and watching me or something like that. And I'm like, really? Like, live today, Max Hawthorne goes to the bathroom. Younger children are not allowed in the audience. I mean, like seriously, like how much do you need to see?
Well,
Sounds
I'm
funny,
wondering,
but
are they shapeshifters? And if they are, why not present a happier image first until they reveal themselves later?
Well, I think like these particular reptilians, these saurians, are observers, and hence the cloak. And not expecting to be seen, in the in that situation, let's say, or something. If you're moving around quietly at night, doing surveillance, whatever, and cloaked in addition to that, you would not expect to be spotted. Not by some hairless, or actually in my case, hairy bipedal ape or something like that.
Yeah.
But but let's talk about that actually in terms of the shape-shifting thing and all that. So, I mean, when you were talking about the energy field around Handsome, okay, and the viewers are going to see it when they go in there. You've seen other things. You see faces primarily, okay, like eyes and mouths and wraiths and wailing creatures and stuff like that, right?
Faces, yes.
Yeah. And a lot of them look like they're angry or upset or like, and stuff like that, okay?
No, not
so
all
now
of
we
them.
have to consider, but a lot of them.
No. Well,
I
all
have
different
seen-
facial things.
Yes, but maybe it's the ones that I take the pictures of with the thermal, and they don't want me taking their pictures where they do that. I think the thermal camera must emit some sort of beam that they don't like, or maybe they just don't like to have a camera shoved in their face. I don't know. But a lot of times when I take pictures of them, they get very angry. They look very upset. So maybe they don't expect when they're watching a reality show to be on the show too, right? Anyway.
Well, I will tell you, I prefer audio to video, and if I know it's going to, if they suddenly pop video at me, I get furious. I want warning to, comb my hair and put on a nice top and, the whole thing. So I can understand caught on film without looking my best would tick the heck out of me.
Yeah, especially if you weren't expecting it, like you said. Like, if somebody just knocked on your door and put a camera in your face, like, oh, that type of thing. But so the question now is first off, is that cloak just a cloak, or is it also a portal, a means of transportation? And these are some of the things that I've been trying to decipher and investigate. Because you got to think about this. These images that you're seeing, these faces and stuff like that, the question is, what are they? And I have, considered possibilities. One possibility is that the faces you're seeing are if the entity can change shape itself, and those represent other forms that it's been able to take. See, whether those are forms or illusions by technology or actual real shape-shifting. But either way, that could represent so many different forms that it has, used over the years that are all like a bandolier of bullets, all around it, that type of thing. So, I mean, that's one possibility. The another possibility, though, is that if it's a portal, is that maybe you may be seeing dozens or even hundreds of other beings, other creatures, that are all there and looking and curious or wanting out or who knows what. But if that's the case, you got to keep in mind that we can see that energy field is, when it contracts, is centered around the reptilian. See? So if it is other beings in that cloak when it's, or that portal is so tight to him, he's the only one that has access. He's like the gatekeeper, and they can't get through. So it could be a lot of different possibilities.
Well, there is a theory that the third dimension is actually a projection from the second dimension, and that's where reality actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And that would suggest that he's two-dimensional, projecting into the third dimension and being seen where he didn't expect it. Or he could be looking for a better place for his people to go.
That's true. I mean, anything's possible, but I do believe they hunt the deer in this area. So, I mean, they have to physically be here if they're going to do that, because I found a track. I mean, there was a bunch of impressions in the leaf litter, and one of them was all the way through to the soil. It was frozen soil. But and there were these 4 or 5 claw marks, like rake marks, as if something heavy and large had like propelled itself forward, and it had non-retractable talons that had cut grooves into the frozen soil to help propel itself forward. You know, like a bear pushing off or something like that. And the track size would be something the size of a Bigfoot. In terms of like width and this type of stuff. So, I mean, I got video footage from trail cameras I put out actually that same day of a deer at night, and all of a sudden it turns, it looks, and then it bolts. It runs for its life for no apparent reason. You know, I find it an interesting coincidence that happens. And, you know, the night before, or hours earlier, you know, I had found these tracks, and this one track with these, you know, these claw marks, et cetera, something bipedal, with sort of human-shaped toes, because you could see like the toes increase in size from like left to right or whatever it is, you know, like the pinky and whatever, this type of stuff. But it was right there. I mean, that track was like maybe 10 yards from the camera at most. So, you know, I if it is one of their tracks, then they are, you know, they were. That was a couple of years ago, that one. They'd be hunting deer in the area. So they may travel and come through periodically. They may come through and do observations or keep tabs on, you know, people or places or who knows what. I don't know. You know, and maybe they want to supplement their you know, food stores while they're here. You know, some fresh venison. I mean, we eat them, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure you know people that hunt deer and eat them. Yeah. So,
I do know people that do that, but, you know, anytime they try to give me anything, all I can think of is Bambi, and I can't do it.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea either, to be honest. I've had opportunities in the past. People try and invite me to go hunting and stuff, you know, like an uncle and stuff, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I just fish. And even when I fish, I almost always let the fish go, you know.
Well, I'll tell you something that is actually rather delicious, and that's whale.
Really?
Just like roast beef. It's a mammal.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was in Iceland, and we went to a hotel for dinner, and I asked for the roast beef, and they brought it. It was delicious, and it didn't have a lot of fat in it or anything. And I said, this is just wonderful. He said, well, it was just brought in today. It's whale. And, you know, I thought, okay, wait, whales breathe air. Whales are mammals. That is, it was delicious. So.
Yeah, I could never do that. I mean, if I knew about it, let's put it this way, you didn't. But I mean, see, I have a thing that, like, I will never eat an octopus. You know, they are intelligent, emotional entities. And I won't do that, you know. And so me, I mean, I look at cetaceans the same way. And if somebody did that, pulled that on me, we probably would have been fighting after that. I mean, I would have been like, wow, you know, like it's like tricking somebody into cannibalism or something like that, or eating a dog, you know, like, and not knowing, that type of thing, you know, like wherever you know, certain countries are into that sort of nastiness, but you know, I mean, that's but to each his own.
Well, true. And it's just that when something like this happens, it doesn't happen by accident. I think it may have been just time that they were seen, and they were lucky it was you, because, I have this belief that if people are not consciously enough aware of stuff, they will not see it. So they had to find someone who was open to seeing them, and they probably manifested before a lot of people that probably just didn't pay any attention because they couldn't believe their eyes, and so they just they didn't see them. They chose to not see them. And I think a lot of UFOs are like that too.
I think they're also a judge of character. I mean, when the fact that I was able to see that winged entity, with my own eyes, even after once it went airborne, and it was hovering like 20 feet in my headlights. It was like 6 feet in the air and suspended, like a hummingbird, holding position straight. Yeah. So we were looking at each other, okay? And I was just mesmerized. I mean, the wings, the light from the headlights was dancing around the edges of the wings as they vibrated and stuff. It was beautiful, it was fascinating, and it was impossible, But the strangest thing was that when it was on the ground, this creature, this being, its skin was like a dark gray with black eyes and a black mouth. And when it screeched at me, which it did, it was like, ah, like that. And I was like, oh, what am I looking at here? This type of stuff. And I realized it was either angry or afraid, and probably both. I mean, you're a foot or 14-inch tall being with a head the size of an apple, and you've got a 5,000-pound SUV bearing down on you with bright headlights, it'd be pretty scary. You know what I mean?
Very.
But but when it sprang into the air, its appearance changed, and I think it was able to change color and texture, whatever, because I think it was trying to match the asphalt that it was on, which is why it was like a dark gray. See, but in the air, when it was standing there, it looked completely different. It was like its body was almost like a silvery white and translucent. The wings were like clear, but like I said, like shimmering light around the edges and stuff. It was transformed. It was like an ethereal being or something like that. And then after that, this was in the winter time, and then we when it warmed up a little bit, a couple months later or whatever, my daughter and I, we went into the woods near there, and we brought like a bowl of like those delicious big Costco blueberries. The suckers that are like Jurassic Park-sized blueberries. They're so good. And, because my former agent, she was saying, she was saying it was something called a brownie, like a type of fairy, and it lived in trees and, all this other stuff or whatever. I don't believe that. I believe that it was something that came through a gate or a portal that doesn't normally live here, and it just got in trouble. Like I said, like hit a power line, got clocked by an owl, who knows what. Okay, but we went out to the woods there, and we were, we sat into a clearing. We found it was weird. There was just one tree that had been cut down that had perfectly flat surface, the stump, like a table, out of nowhere. I don't know why. And we sat at the bowl in there, and I made this little speech, and I felt like an idiot, but I wanted to be nice, whatever, because the agent had said they eat fruit and stuff like that. So we left the bowl there and all this other stuff, then we, the next day, I think she had school, and she asked me to check and see if the fairy had eaten the blueberry. So I went there, and the bowl was there in the exact same spot, and it was empty, spotless, nothing. Okay, and I was like, well, that's odd. I'm like, I mean, if a deer had come and shoved its muzzle in there, you'd think there'd be like blueberry juice all over and maybe some skin scraps and stuff, and they would knock the bowl over or something like that, and even squirrels or something, or birds. I mean, these blueberries are pretty big for most birds, but yeah, you would think there would be some evidence, something, And I was on a show, and I said to the host, but probably some kids were going through there and they just ate them. And she said, right, because if you were walking through the woods and you saw a bowl of blueberries sitting there, you would pick them up and eat them, right? And I'm like, I was thinking of that, one of those Shrek movies where Shrek's like, donkey, don't you find a plate of fresh waffles with with butter and syrups in the middle of the woods, a little suspicious. And he's like, no. But, that was a good point. Okay. But my point of all this is that it is possible that these beings saw this type of behavior and realized, okay, well, these people have a healthy respect for life, and, they're trying to reach out and trying to communicate. And maybe that carries some weight, hence the curiosity, the interest. I don't know.
Well, they certainly have your attention, and it just it feels like it's almost taken over your life. So I would say that it has given you another avenue to express yourself through, for sure. Now you say you have pictures of all different kinds of extraterrestrials.
I do. And some videos too.
Is there a book coming?
I don't have time to blow my nose right now, honestly. I mean, it's like I am so behind on my writing. I need to get back into it. I mean, I've written a lot of books, don't get me wrong. I may have to focus on novellas instead of full-length novels, because novellas are a little shorter and easier to write and stuff. Uh-huh. But, I mean, my first thing is right now is I'm just, I want to get my series of documentaries out there. I want to show people what I've discovered and open their eyes to, all the wonders around us that we don't see, or can't see, or we're not allowed to see, or whatever it might be. And, that we'll see where things go from there. I don't have, aspirations. I certainly don't have the wherewithal or contacts to be, dealing with movies or TV shows or anything like that. I haven't had an agent in ages, so I'm just kind of like doing my own thing at this point. So, but I am sure the universe will provide all answers to everything I'm supposed to do, all in good time.
Well, it does, obviously. I mean, that's my belief as well. And it's just, it leaves so many questions hanging out there. And what I think is especially cool is many people would be terrified and would be worried about their daughter, among other things. And yet you seem to have an understanding with them that your family is left alone, which is great.
My daughter is protected. That's guaranteed. So, me, I don't worry about it. I'm old and fat, and I've had my time in the sun, you know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, well, you're their voice, so pretty sure you're going to be left alone.
Well, I have to stick around because, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you do have to stick around. There's no other way to put the information out there.
No, I promised my daughter I won't kick it until I'm at least 99, so I have no choice. We have a deal. That's the deal. And I'm like, I need to lose weight. I need to eat better. I need to, all this other stuff like that. So, So I'm working on it. It's just that, I'm like, how like I'm like Moana. You know how like the ocean calls to her. My refrigerator calls to me. It's like, Max, you.
Guess what we got for you?
Check out these brownies, huh?
Yeah, I have one of those refrigerators that talks too.
Yeah.
So you've not. They've communicated with you in English.
Yes.
Have you heard or been aware of, or is that how they communicate all the time?
I don't know. The sentences have been short. I mean, usually like 3-4 words, this type of stuff. So it may be a hard translate for them or something, or they're not comfortable, or I don't know, or maybe that's just how the words form inside your head when they project it or something. But I mean, the method of speaking is very rudimentary. Like when somebody says, like cease this, Max, or Max cease this, or something like that. It's just 3 words, and it's very regimented and very curt and whatever. Like
interesting.
boom, boom, boom.
Interesting. They chose cease instead of stop.
Mhm. Yeah, and I couldn't even say it was the word cease. It was like that was the impression I got. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like you. I'm not sure I heard that word well. I heard my name and I heard this, and I believe it said cease, but I was like, at the same time, I was so caught off guard. But the impression, the translation was definitely cease. Like
now,
cease and desist or something like that.
The only person I know of but have not spoken to, so I all I can do is go from secondhand, is Billy Meyer. He the aliens have visited him his whole life, and there's a tremendous amount of material that have been written. I know that when he was shown a picture of Hitler's psychic, Maria Orsich, Billy Meyer said that's Semyasi. It was the spitting image of an alien that he was in contact with. Edgar Casey communicated telepathically. So, and in many cases, he actually knew the spirit that was talking to him, especially the medical stuff. So that there is definitely stuff out there that would explain the communication. But you kind of want to know, what do you want? I mean, is there any way to say that to them? Why are you here? What do you want?
I'm working on it. It's
okay.
Yeah, all things will be revealed in time. So
okay, but
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. I'm very rude. Me. I'm always like, talking over people and stuff like that. It's terrible.
That's okay. But you've never actually been abducted, or have you?
Successfully? No.
Yeah, successfully.
No, there was an attempt, and it wasn't by the reptilians.
Okay.
And that will actually be an upcoming episode.
So because
and I have pictures of the little rat bastards. Can I say bastard on the air? I think I can. I'm not sure.
You have.
But anyway.
So sure.
Yes. But anyway, yes, there was an incident where a group of diminutive, melon-headed freaks tried to abduct me. I think maybe my research attracted them or whatever. They tried. They failed. And they ran screaming like a bunch of frightened pigs. Kind of sounded like that, in fact. Okay? So, but I have pictures. Yeah. So, I'm not a fan. Okay?
Okay.
They won't be back.
Well, you're one of the few that I know of who has a good collection of different species. Now, in your collection, are they all done with the infrared camera, or are they done with just a regular camera?
Infrared, thermal camera also, and a few with the cell phone when I didn't have anything else with me. But those are really grainy and kind of, like hard to make out, honestly, because it's just not designed for that. Like taking a picture in the dark with a cell phone, you know what I mean? Like that, you can see it, but it's really grainy and like not ideal. Let's put it that way. But when you combine that with other quality images and stuff like that, it tells a powerful story.
So if one wonders if you have different species of extraterrestrials, if you're marked out as visit this guy, he's okay. Or if most people never get a visitation, or if they get them, they don't know it. You apparently catch them as they come in. So is there a purpose to that?
Well, I have an advantage in one aspect. You see, we have 2 huge Siberian forest cats. And I don't know if people know this, but cats can see in the ultraviolet spectrum. That's from 0 to, I think, 400 megahertz, if I'm not mistaken, or something. They also have heat sensors on their skin. So they are able to detect things that we are not. They're able to see things that we are not. They can see spirits. They can see astral beings, things of that nature. So if you're ever worried, adopting a cat or 2 from your local shelter, if you think you're having visitations or something like that, or spirits, etc., it wouldn't hurt to have a cat. Save a life. You know what I'm saying? Great pets, etc. But this doesn't mean that if your cat is playing with something that you can't see, that you have a ghost or a spirit or an extraterrestrial in your house. I don't want you saying oh, Max said that this means that, etc. But our cats are able to see things quite well that aren't there. And if I feel like there's something there and I take out the picture, usually it's there.
Oh yeah, I have a cat, and every now and then she'll suddenly turn her head and stare someplace, and then she'll go back to sleep. And I figure if she's not scared, I don't have to be. She just caught somebody passing through.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We had an incident where after my dad had passed, the day after the funeral, our cat, one of our big boys, was up on the top landing there, and he was looking down and watching something you couldn't see walk up the stairs. And walking up the stairs, and his head was tracking it as it came up and up and up and got taller and taller and taller until it was the size of a man. At which point he backed up and he hissed at it. And there was nothing there, but I assumed it was the old man. So I literally said, "Hey, Dad, whatever, blah blah blah, this other stuff." So, but I mean, it doesn't, it seems like it's like. You may be right, but they seem to be very interested because, I was on vacation in a rental property down in the Kissimmee area, and I was in the bedroom, and it was night, and I just had this overwhelming feeling of some dark, brooding presence there. And I had my thermal with me because I wanted to see if they'd be, things would be around when I was on vacation. I took a couple of clips, and I got some interesting pictures, and you can see them through the thermal. I usually have to adjust, tweak them to get them to really pop, but, I can see them in the thermal. I can see them move. I can see their eyes. I can see their teeth. I can see them shift, et cetera. So I don't just point at a wall randomly and just, start clicking and clicking and clicking and stuff like that. I look around and I'm like, there you are, boom. So.
The only man I know who goes to bed with a camera.
Well, I don't normally sleep with the camera. It's a thermal camera. Let's be clear on that. Okay, but I specifically took it on vacation because I wanted to do an experiment. Is this at that residence only where I filmed the 2 boys, the guys, the reptilians. I've had a few pics in my house, but most of the other places. But I was like, if I go on vacation, is this coming with me? That type of thing. Which, does that mean it's me? Am I like a magnet for these beings, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm old and arthritic and I'm in pain all the time. Maybe they feed off pain, and they're drawn to that, like hyenas to a carcass, I don't know. A lot of weird thoughts go through my head sometimes, especially when I don't take my meds.
Yeah, I can understand that. I've seen a UFO. I have no desire or need to see an alien. I know they're out there. And every now and then, the hair on the back of my neck will pick up, and I'll know something is around.
Could be.
It's either that or, menopause or whatever.
Oh, I'm waiting to go through that myself. Well, I call it nanopause. It's different, though. You know.
It is. Menopause is menopause. So, but it's just, it's kind of like I know there are aliens out there. I know they're on the planet. Every now and then I have met someone that I am absolutely positive is an alien. And it doesn't scare me. It's sort of like there has to be. I know that they could be watchers of sort. Are you familiar with the Rendlesham Forest incident?
No.
Rendlesham Forest. I can't. It was current. There was a UFO sighting. There was a military base there that was a joint one, and it was housed both British and U.S. people, and 2 soldiers went out to investigate it. It turned out that it was something like it was a drone. It had writing on it of some sort, and when he touched this object, this drone, he was downloaded with a tremendous amount of binary code. A number of years later, the binary code was interpreted, and it basically said operation, observation of humanity to continue, and a couple of other things. And then it said source date 8100. So, to my mind, that was a drone from the future being sent back. And at first I thought, isn't this great? We're still here in 8100. And then I thought, wait a minute, it talks about humanity. It doesn't say us. So I'm wondering who it's observing. It suddenly I stopped dead in my tracks, and it was like, wait, it says of humanity. It doesn't say of us. So I don't know who it came from. But
That's a good
it was
point.
binary code in English, yeah. And then there've been there have been a number of shows on it, where they show them going back and showing where it was, and the binary code and the whole thing. It was definitely a validated UFO, and I think it happened the next night as well. But Jim only touched it once and got the download, and they never asked him about it. So he never said anything, and a number of years later, I think it was Linda Morton Howe that said, that's binary code, let's get it translated. And it had the geographical locations of a number of spiritual sites on the planet there. And Eyes of Our Eyes, I think, was one of the other things it said. But it did say that, watching the experiment of humanity was a good idea. Not in those words, but similar.
Watching the experiment of humanity.
Well, that's what it inferred. It didn't say that. It inferred that.
Yeah.
Further observation was ongoing.
Well, maybe that was, you were right, that this is a vacation, and they study us and stuff like that. I mean, somebody asked me once, do you think they're watching you all the time? Like, even during your more personal moments? And I'm like, I feel really bad for them if they are. I'm sorry. When I'm in the bathroom, I need my alone time. And you do not want to be a part of this, okay? Seriously. I mean, dudes, come on, man.
Yeah.
But
there have to be better places to go.
yeah.
So what is next? What next is going to go up on your site, and when is it going to go up?
So I'm working on the sequel to this first documentary, which is going to give us a much more in-depth look at one of these 2 individuals. And I'm going to be discussing anatomical features, possible gender, and a lot of other stuff like that. So that's going to be covered in there. Then there's going to be the third one is probably going to be a comparison between the 2 individual reptilians, whether they're the same species, male versus female, et cetera, that type of stuff, along with some other stuff related to that, and what's been going on with me, and interactions with them and things of that nature. The fourth one will probably be a reveal on the Mothman, and then I'm not sure. I mean, I might do this, an expose on this wannabe abduction that was tried, or I might do something on fairies, because I got some adorable fairy footage recently. So I don't know. I mean, I have a lot to choose from, and it depends on what happens along the way in terms of what I learn, because if I'm able to communicate with some entities and learn a lot from them, which I'm hoping to, then it may change, like I may find I was wrong about something, like some of the stuff we talked about in terms of the technology or how it works or where they're from or their intentions or anything like that. If I need to update things, et cetera, then obviously it's a learning process. But it is fascinating, and I am really glad that people are interested in it and are partaking of it, because it's important. We're not alone.
To this point in time, has the government in any way contacted you or communicated with you?
No. I wouldn't necessarily expect them to. I mean, people have put stuff out all the time and all that, and and people always argue over it. I mean, look at the Patterson-Gimlin footage that's been out for I don't know, 50, 60 years, something like that. And it's still out there, and people are still fighting over it. It's real. It's not. It's real. It's not. I would imagine they're going to look at me the same way, and or probably possibly try to minimize my impact. So that it doesn't become troublesome or whatever. Like I said, I'm just going to be doing my thing and spreading the love and spreading what information and knowledge I get as we go along and stuff, and it's I think people will enjoy it. And hey, it's cheaper than going to the movies. It's, some places it's the same price as a gallon of premium gasoline, and you get to see a real extraterrestrial. You can't go wrong with that, So.
But I think what people have to realize too is that this is just one species. That there are, I don't think they have a full count as to how many different species there are out there. So that some of them, I mean, in a way, they're humanoid-ish. But
I've only seen. I'm sorry. I apologize. I totally interrupted. No, I want you to finish, because you were on a roll there, and I want to hear all of it.
Well, they're
on the way they're human-ish, right?
So that one would expect that almost any alien race that was here terrestrially would have some form of humanoid-ishness in their demeanor. So, I'm just wondering how far they go in diverting into green blobs or whatever.
Pretty far. I've seen insectoids. I've documented things that look like praying mantises and stuff like that, and ants. Ooh, some of them are like, ooh. Cats. There were a lot of cats, like ghost cats and stuff like that. Alien, extraterrestrial. When people say cats are interdimensional beings, I actually believe some of that, or on the other side. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I saw this one thing looks like a dragon. This one thing that, like my novels, those giant pliosaurs, which there was a specimen in the news recently from the Etches Collection Museum in the UK. These giant prehistoric marine reptiles that have like a head like a croc, but they have four flippers. More like a plesiosaur. They are plesiosaurs, etc. I have an image of something like that, except the teeth are more like a shark, and it has 6 eyes. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Sometimes you scratch your head and like, what am I looking at here? Like this type of thing. So some of them look humanoid. humanoid-ish, etc. There must be some DNA sharing going on and stuff like that. Some look completely, I don't know what. I mean, like, you know, I might do a thing where I'll do like a, like I'll put, maybe I'll, you know, for like, maybe for people that are following this site at some point, I might actually put like an image out of an individual creature and like let people, maybe do a contest where people will try and like name it or you know, who knows what, or something like that, or contribute to something about it. I don't know, you know, or maybe I'll just put it out there just for people that are subscribers so they can, you know, see it themselves, you know, like this type of thing.
Now,
you know,
if anyone wants to see this video, where do they go?
The video, which of course is copyrighted and all that, but you know, it's protected on the site, but you know, it's for members only. They have a choice. They go on maxhawthorne.com, which is my name, maxhawthorne.com, and you go on there and you have a choice. You can subscribe, which means you can see all the videos as they come out as many times as you want, whenever you want. Or right now, just watch the first one multiple times, etc. But that's, I think, $9.99 a month. Or you can just pay $7, $6.99, and just watch the one video for 48 hours, kind of like a Netflix deal or something like that. So whatever works better for people. I mean, I know everybody's on a budget and everything like that, but there's plenty more coming, and you know, you definitely want to be following the site and be a part of it, because you're gonna get your money's worth and then some.
Well, the only thing that I want to add to that is I had trouble signing on. And you go through the whole process and send it all in, and then you have to wait for an email to actually get you in. So don't do what I did and drive Max crazy with it. Fill out all the information, submit it.
Yeah, well, there was some bugs, you know, in the system and stuff, you know, new site and all that. But I think it's all been worked out and everything, you know. But yeah, you're right. Let me cover that. So when you enroll on the site, you're going to see a pop-up that's going to tell you that they're waiting for email confirmation. So the email, in the beginning, it was going to spam folders, but we fixed that, so it shouldn't be a problem. So you're getting an email to confirm your email address. And then, you know, obviously you're going to process your payment, and you confirm the payment, and then you get your welcome thing, and you're in. Boom. It's very quick, actually. But you know, I don't know. That's basically the story. You have a username and password. Once you see the video, if you want to post comments and opinions and stuff, feel free to do that. There will be an admin, obviously, that will monitor comments and stuff like that to make sure there's no crazies out there, which, of course, they're not, I mean, obviously. But
yeah, there are.
But a few. But yeah, and if I'd love to hear what you think about the video. There's been a few comments, I think, already on there. Let me see. Yeah, one person said, she was referencing my horror novel, The Slay. She saw the video and she said, "Wow, I thought Slay scared me. This creature is not something I want on my deck. Looking forward to more, though." And another person who has seen a reptilian, another person said, "This is a great video of a reptilian. I am convinced this is what is responsible for missing people in national parks, not Sasquatch. These things can cloak, and you have proof of it here. Nicely done." So, you know, the word is getting out. People are liking what they're seeing, and you know, that means I've done my job.
Yes, you have. And I thank you so much for bringing your information and sharing it with our audience, and look forward to talking more about this.
Barbara, it was my pleasure. I can't thank you enough. And obviously we don't have questions we're taking from viewers and everything. I'm sorry, from listeners. But for everyone who has tuned in, thank you so much for taking the time. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Also on Facebook and other places. There's lots of places where I'm accessible. And I look forward to your thoughts on the video and to the next one as well. And have a wonderful day.
Thanks a lot now. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I look forward to talking to you next Monday night. I think that's when the next show is. But check the website out, barbaradelong.com. It'll give you any information you need. Have a great one, everybody.